What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to a special bowl edition of Tuffy Talk. We're going to be breaking down today the military bowl that your Wolfpack will be playing in a week from Saturday, the 28th of January. January. Good grief. Let me just get through December first. December at 5:45 up in Annapolis at the Navy Marine Corps Stadium against those Pirates of ECU. Today, I've got Michael, Tracy, and Carson. How are we doing, fellas? How are we doing? We ready for some bowl season?
Absolutely. Yeah. Ready to kick some pirate tail.
Yeah, there you go. The Pack is looking for their first bowl game win since, can you believe this? 2017. So we are on a bit of a drought for bowl game success, but thankfully we're playing against a group of 5 team and not a Power 4 as they are called today. So I think we're a little bit more maybe optimistic about the game. So I'll start with you, Carson. Give me your first initial thoughts before we start breaking in some of these categories and players and position groups.
I think it's an interesting matchup, right? Because this is a traditional rivalry. These two teams, they used to play every year. Now they don't. They're in different conferences, so they don't play every year. Yep. We play them to start the next year, so it will be interesting to see how that differs come September, or the game's actually in August.
Right.
But I would rather be playing ECU than playing some random group of 5 team, because it actually adds a little bit of stakes to the bowl game rather than just winning and losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you mentioned the series. All-time NC State is 19-13 and won the last 3 in a row, so that bodes well for the Pack going into this game. So, Michael, I'll throw it over to you. Kind of give me your first initial thoughts of the bowl game matchup, and are you excited about it, or are you just kind of meh, whatever?
Yeah, I like the G5 aspect. I don't really want to see another SEC team in the postseason again. That usually doesn't go well for us. So, but ECU makes it interesting. But it's like, yeah, we do play them to start next season, so it's kind of weird. But if I'm ranking the opponent on a scale of 1 to 10 of like how exciting the matchup is, I'd probably say it's like a 7. Well,
that's pretty high, actually. Yeah, that's pretty high. Is it because more of the regional rivalry more than their profile?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because on the surface, it's like, okay, you're playing yes, they are a 7-5 ball club, but they're a group of 5 program that didn't play any Power 4 teams. So we were talking before we got online, Carson, kind of like the best wins, if you will, for ECU, and we kind of came up with. It's pretty rough, but North Texas,
a 6-6 North Texas team. Yeah.
6-6. It's between that or UTSA, and I go with North Tech. We're going to go with North Texas because that was a road game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you look at North Texas, and again, we're not going to be talking about North Texas too much, but this is a team that their best win was South Alabama, who just finished the season 7-6. Beating Western Michigan in their bowl game. And then UTSA's best win, conversely, was against North Texas. So you kind of, see it. It's not a high profile team. And Michael, you talked about it earlier. Like you didn't really want to see an SEC team. Why is that? Are you just looking more for a win and you don't care the quality of the opponent, or like what's the bigger deal for you? The name or the win?
I think the win, especially with the way bowl games are now, it's like, it doesn't. If you win, just like if you win against an SEC team, or any Power 4 team, there's probably going to be a lot of guys that sit out, and it's like it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't hold the same weight. So just get the easiest win you can, because it still gets reflected on the season record. So yeah, sure. I'm all on board for just getting the win.
Yeah, and this is a program with NC State where we had to wait till the last week of the season to see if we would even go bowling, right? And you kind of at the end of the day just want to end the season on a high note, positive note, get that win heading into spring practice, and maybe kind of elevate the program kind of going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. It's we don't. Obviously, the team isn't that great this year. So
right. But the more important thing, Carson, and we kind of saw it this week in some of the. I'm still gonna call it tweets, but some of the tweets you saw, some of the young guys coming in for the 25 season with Gus Ritchie and Will Wilson. I think to me that's the biggest part of this conversation, right? Is getting those extra practices. Like, yes, you want to go get a win, but just some more additional player development.
And before we get going back into this amazing interview, we want to take a quick second and tell you about Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 different offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their website at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely would translate well into the spring, into next fall, because, all these players are enrolling early, so they get to get some extra practice time, get some extra development, and just get some extra time for next season.
Yeah.
Get a head start.
Yeah, right. And by all, if you've been following the team like most of us do that follow the channel, Savage Wolves and Wolfpack have done a really great job corralling these guys in for next year. And, we've done a really good job. And as of this recording on the 19th of December, we haven't really heard of any opt-outs, which is a good thing. And but conversely, we've lost, probably the biggest piece that we've lost is Casey Concepcion. I think that, that goes without being said too much. But you've got some exciting guys, that can potentially backfill that role with Jonathan Paler and maybe slotting some other guys into that. But on the ECU side, they've had, we kind of alluded to it just a minute ago. They've had an up and down season. Halfway through the season, after their Army game, when they got beat pretty handily, they ended up switching coaches from Mike Houston, and then they've gone over to I have his name here, Blake Harrell.
Yeah, he's their defense coordinator, right?
Right. And then they on the 27th of November, they took the interim tag off of his name. But and Carson and I were talking, like, after the Army game, they did go on a series of, wins to kind of get bowl eligible. But when you look at their schedule, again, we already talked about it. They didn't really play anybody. The schedule got even weaker from there. So you would hope that they went on a run. Just kind of, either one of you, whoever wants to take it, just kind of give me your thoughts on the run that ECU went on. Like, it was a nice run. Don't get me wrong. You still have to go out and play the game and win the game. And, after you fire your coach after week 7, it's pretty, like, the team could have just said, what the heck with it. We're going to roll this thing up and try again next year.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about, the culture of ECU. We often poke fun of them at NC State, but, that's definitely a blue collar type school. They're not the boys in blue down the road. Mm-hmm. Kind of the opposite of that. So
who are actually afraid to play them.
Yeah. If you look at their schedule, they beat Temple pretty handily. All right. Temple did not make a bowl game.
Right. And
then you had to bye. And then you beat FAU pretty handily at home. FAU is really bad.
Who fired their coach?
Yeah. If you think Florida State is bad, Florida Atlantic is actually worse. They're that bad. And then they went to Tulsa and got a win. That was a 7-point win.
Coach.
Yeah, and Tulsa did not make a bowl game.
Right.
And then
they beat a lot of people who fired their coach.
Yeah. And then you beat North Texas. All right. That was a good.
Well, I still think has a coach.
Yeah. North they still have their coach. I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do too.
Yeah. And then that was a 12-point win on the road. So that was actually a decent win for ECU. Yeah. And then their last game, they played Navy, lost by 14. And Navy's had a pretty good year.
Right. And the other bowl eligible team was Army, and they got destroyed, like I just mentioned, and got their coach fired.
Yeah. So the only bowl eligible teams they've played, they're 0-2 against them, and they were both by 14 plus.
and their service academies. And again, look, I'm excited about the Military Bowl. I haven't really given my thoughts on it. Being a Navy veteran, going to be able to go up to Annapolis, the home of Navy. Look, if you're going to get a crappy bowl, give me that any day, all day. I got an hour and 10-minute drive. It's a military affiliated bowl. I love it. Give it to me. Initially, the weather looked pretty daunting. It's gotten way better. We were looking at a high of like 38, 39, but it's gotten up to the 50s and no rain. So I will take that for a late December game up near the Mason-Dixon line. But all right, so getting back into the game here. Want to talk a little bit about the ECU offense for a couple of minutes. It's an offense, again, when they got beat by Army. They ended up switching quarterbacks halfway through that game. They had been running Jake Garcia up until the Army game, and then they brought in Caton Hauser. And and again, we kind of laid it out. I don't know if they took off because they inserted a new coach/quarterback, or again, the schedule got easier. But however you want to slice that up, they did get better once they inserted Hauser into the starting lineup. So kind of give me your thoughts there, Michael. Tell me what you know about him.
Yeah, I remember seeing him last year, them picking him up in the transfer portal. I thought it was pretty good, and I assumed he would start. I think he may have even been a 4-star guy, I think, for Michigan State. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty good pickup, and then he didn't start. And then, yeah, like you said, I don't know if it was the coaching change or it was probably a little bit of both. But yeah, when he came in, he definitely gave that offensive spark.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, Carson, on their quarterback situation?
Yeah, I have his stats pulled up right here. 60% completion percentage, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 1,800 yards. So, decent quarterback considering that he's played for 5.5 games.
Right. And conversely, Garcia, who their quarterback before him, had actually thrown for only 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions and had been sacked 12 times, where Hauser's only been sacked 10 times. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know, what Hauser's really kind of known for. Let me just see here does he have any kind of rushing stats? Are we, should we be threatened by that? I'm looking at it. No, we should not. He's got 36 attempts for 86 yards and a 2.4 average. So it sounds like he's pretty much a pocket passer, which is good because State's really struggled with mobile quarterbacks this year, running quarterbacks. If you remember, Nico, and then I wouldn't even consider Cabe Klubnik a running quarterback, but he's got some talent there. We struggled with
the Stanford QB.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So go ahead, Carson.
And I think that has to do with linebackers, because linebackers are pretty much the main people in charge of running like a QB spy if we run that. And QB spy's not been good at all this year.
Right,
I think
Go ahead. No, go finish your statement. Sorry.
It's very much just finished, but pretty much just QB spy.
Yeah, and then it really came to a forefront in that Georgia Tech game when we got burned at the end of the game. Sorry to bring up old memories. But
that wasn't even a Haynes. That was their passing QB who getting us on the ground too. That wasn't even their running QB.
Absolutely. But it does look like neither one of their quarterbacks are really a run threat. So if we end up getting either one of them in the bowl game, if they do some crazy stuff, so there's really not a threat from the quarterback position. But talking about their running backs, Raji Harris is a pretty good, they got pretty good numbers from the running back stable, him and London Montgomery. But Harris is going to get the majority of the touches. He's averaging just at 5 yards a rush. So that's, very productive. And then Montgomery's averaging 5.4, and then they have another probably a 4th string guy who's averaging almost 6.6, but on limited touches. So they do run the ball pretty well. They run it at a clip of about 4.4 yards. So that's a number you'll take. So we're gonna have our hands full on the running back position, and so let's bounce over to a little bit about the NC State defense, kind of taking this on. Obviously with the the departure of Tony Gibson. You're going to get Freddie Autry-Lindsay as your interim DC. What do you guys expect in the defensive side? I don't think they're going to do anything too crazy, especially with the bowl game and limited time. So I would assume that they're going to still run the 3-3-5 scheme. But Michael, just kind of give me your initial thoughts on what the defense needs to do to stop this ECU offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's bowl game. You get extra prep, but especially with the new coordinator, new play caller, you're not going to switch up too much. I think you just kind of go with what you've been doing all season, and then any changes that may or may not happen will happen after that. But yeah, I think the defense has a pretty good shot at shutting down this ECU offense. I mean, they've been explosive, but again, for me, it just all goes back to their schedule. I mean, their level of competition that they've played has not been great. Like, State's defense has struggled at times. But the last couple of games, they really were, able to lock in. I think we had a 5 or 6 game stretch there in the middle of the season where, every team we played, we held below 29 points. So I think it improved. So, I definitely favor State's defense in this matchup.
Yeah. Kind of give me your thoughts, Carson, before I want to spend a couple of seconds on their receivers, and it'll make sense when we get there, but just kind of give me your thoughts on the defense, stopping this offense for ECU.
Wolfpack Nation, I know that you're enjoying and loving this interview. I want to interrupt this interview for just 1 second and tell you about Oconee Gold Small Batch Barbecue, y'all, who has some awesome, delicious barbecue sauces and rubs, and even merchandise too that you will love and enjoy. Again, they have barbecue sauces starting with their original, which is a sweet brown sugar based mild barbecue sauce, but they also too have barbecue sauces that are spicy, jalapeno flavored, mustard based, vinegar based, and then they also have too, again, a delicious dry rub that's great. All your chicken, pork, seafood, beef, you name it. If it's any kind of meat whatsoever, that rub will take it to the next level. I can guarantee you that for sure. So again, go and check out their website, www.oconeegoldbarbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code Tuffy Talk to get 15% off your entire order. And if your order is also over $99, you also get free shipping as well, y'all. So again, go to oconeegoldbarbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code Tuffy Talk to get 15% off your entire order. Enjoy it, y'all. You will love it, and I can guarantee you that. And as always, go pack and get you some, y'all.
Yeah, I liked how we're not playing a mobile quarterback because that's, as we've said, that's been a weakness for us all year. Their running backs have been decent, but remember, this is a group of 5 team, and I feel like our run defense, with regards to running backs, the defensive line has actually been pretty good this year. The one game where they didn't have a good day was the Carolina game, but you're playing against O'Marion Hampton, so that's not too big of a surprise. You can't beat them too bad for that. But overall, I think from a run game and quarterback standpoint, I think we should be able to contain ECU pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree. When you look at the overall quarterback numbers for the season, 26 touchdowns to 21 interceptions, so they're going to be prone to turn over the ball. I don't know. I don't have any kind of like what the fumbles look like for the running backs. So apparently, Michael, your dog agrees with me.
Excited about that.
But so I think the one thing State can be opportunistic on defense and hopefully maybe cause some turnovers. Especially with the team, State's been on the negative side of that for most of the season. So you would hope that that's going to be a positive factor for us in the bowl game. Get on the right side of the turnover margin. But I do want to spend a couple of seconds talking about the wide receiver group. There's some things going on there. We have a familiar face over there on the wide receiver group with Anthony Smith, and a guy that flashed at times for NC State. I thought, it was just it was a numbers game for him. There was a lot of people in front of him, good, bad, or indifferent. We won't really get into that here in this podcast, but a speed guy, he always had a lot of speed, and you always thought maybe if you could just get him downfield, And, he could potentially make a play, be a big guy for you. And it just never kind of worked out for him here at State. But he's gone over to ECU and kind of, made a name for himself. He's got 38 receptions for 760 yards, 20 yards a catch. That's a number. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good number. And he's got 6 touchdowns, which is second on the team in wide receivers. Actually, it's just second period on the team. But then he has a guy behind him, Chase Soule, who is in the transfer portal, and I'm assuming will not play in this game. I don't know how ECU does it. I haven't really seen anything that he will or won't participate. As of this recording, I hadn't seen that he committed anywhere. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing if he had committed. So if he's not playing, that's a big loss. Now he's third in the team in receptions, but his average is 19.9. So you can see that they stretch the field pretty well. Yeah. And State's been prone a little bit to give up the deep ball. So Carson, I'll start with you and kind of just break down their wide receivers for me a little bit.
Yeah. So their top receivers, Anthony Smith, obviously, Chase Sowell, 34 receptions with 678 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then we, of course, got Anthony Smith with 38 receptions, 767 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then their guy with the most touchdowns is actually Winston Wright Jr.
Yep.
He has 54 receptions, 556 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's pretty much like he's got all the stats except for the yards, right? So he's got the most receptions and the most touchdowns. He's probably, I think I saw
he was not going to play in the bowl game. He's going to the draft. I just literally just saw that before we got on here.
Okay, thanks. Breaking news. I love it. So that's another big loss, right? So you potentially could be down 2 of your top 3 wide receivers in this game for ECU.
They're just going to be throwing deep balls to Anthony Smith all game.
I mean, right? And we don't even know who's going to be covering him, right? We don't know if Aiden White's going to play in the game. Yeah. We don't know. We don't really know some of these things. To your point earlier, Michael, the bowl game, what you were saying earlier, it's just kind of I almost liken it to not quite a spring game, but not a regular season game either. It's kind of like in the middle of those two, kind of a glorified exhibition at this point. But so if ECU's down 2 of their top 3 wide receivers, that's a big deal when you're already kind of scrapping for points as it is initially.
Yeah. I like you said, we don't know about Souls if he's going to play. Some teams, let their players play in the bowl games. Some don't, but
right.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested to see Anthony Smith because I think they're just using him how we try to use him, on the deep routes, on those over routes, and just letting him use his speed to get open.
Just throw go routes. Yeah. Just go.
Yeah. I mean, he's the fastest player. I mean, I think he was the fastest player by 40 time on the team last year.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to imagine dropping down to the G5 level, like he's probably just torching dudes.
Yeah, to me, he always kind of felt like a tweener, right? Like, I don't think he was a Power 5 guy or Power 4 guy, but I always thought like he would probably go down and dominate, in which he's obviously showing that. And it's just unfortunate.
He always had the size and the speed for a P4, but it was just kind of the separation. Route running, the hands, it was just kind of a little bit of a mismatch there. So I'm not surprised to see him kind of dominating at ECU.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Carson, any final thoughts there on Anthony Smith or any other wide receivers?
No final thoughts on the wide receivers. No.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're gonna pause there for part 1. So we kind of just broke down, a little bit of the ECU offense, kind of what State needs to do on defense, and in part 2 we'll come back and reverse it, see what State can do on offense compared to ECU's defense. And I think, look, we kind of broke it down here with, I would say before we break, what would you say, advantage NC State defense or ECU offense, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I got to go our defense.
Yeah, I would agree. Carson?
Yeah, I would agree. I think I feel like State's defense matches up very well with ECU's offense. Mm-hmm. And at the same point, like ECU's going to come in very with a lot of question marks with regards to who's playing and whatnot. Yeah. Same with us as well. But ECU ECU has a lot of more definites on people who aren't playing compared to NC State's defense.
Agreed, and I think we can absorb some of these a little bit better than ECU can. We've got a lot of guys in waiting, but all right. So we'll go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'll say this kind of will preview into the next episode, but I think the gap is smaller on their offense versus our defense than when we get to our offense versus their defense.
Okay. All right. We'll let you expand upon that in episode 2. So Wolfpack Nation, that'll do it here for episode 1 of our bowl preview. As always, please jump on X and follow us there. Follow us on all our other socials on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, if that's still a thing for people. It is for us old people, but maybe you young people don't do Facebook as much as we do. But as always, we appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube and got that bell clicked for notifications and future episodes. And we'll do this bowl style. As always, go Pack.